folks. How's everyone doing? We are back. This has been such an exciting year so far because we have yet another first-time offender all the way from Kansas City. Jim Wagy, welcome. I've been wanting to have you on for so long, and you're coming from Freedom Music Factory, and I can't wait to talk about all the stuff you've done, all the stuff you have coming up, and your musical journey. How are you, sir?
I'm great, Dan. Thanks for having me. It's great to be
Absolutely.
here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I think,
Mhm,
I really want to start with I don't know if we're the same age. We're probably around the same age. I know you've been playing drums more than 50 years. I've been playing 57 years somehow. I should be
mhm.
better. And I'm only 42, so I don't get the math. But anyway,
Oh
let's
my.
let's start with your love for music and where did drums start? And as a songwriter and all the other things you do, is drums your first instrument?
Yeah, so actually my first instrument was piano.
Mhm.
Actually when I was in second grade, I went to Wichita, Kansas to see my cousin who was a professional drummer, David Castleberry, and he played in these groups that would play Rare Earth and all that Golden Earring stuff and all that great 60s and 70s rock and roll. And
Yeah.
so I saw him play the theme to Hawaii Five-O, and that's the Ventures version,
Yeah.
and he had that Ludwig red Vistalite drum kit, which was really big, back in 1970 or so.
Oh, yeah.
They're all brand new. And I was just hooked. I said, Mom, Dad, that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. I need a drum set. Give me a drum set. And I think they were trying to either discourage me because they didn't want the racket, or maybe they were just trying to see how serious I was about it. So they said, well, why don't you take piano for a year? And then after that, we'll see if you're serious about the drums. So I took piano for a year. And after a year, I said, hey, Mom, I've taken piano for a year. Now, can I get some drums? I really want to play the drums. So I started in third grade. And once I got my first drum set, it was a $25 red sparkle thing, just a little 4-piece with a broken cymbal. And, that wasn't even hardly a real drum set. It was probably some Sears knockoff, at the time.
Yeah.
And then they gave me that. And I started taking private lessons. And my mom, to her credit, took me to the finest drum instructors in Kansas and Missouri all over. And I
Oh,
started private drum lessons in third grade. And
nice.
then as I continued to evolve, I got a nice silver sparkle drum set. I think it was like Tempo brand or something like that. And
Yeah.
finally, as I got in junior high and high school, I got my white Cortex Ludwig drum kit,
Ooh,
which I eventually blew out to be an Octa Plus Plus because it was the
nice.
80s by then. But so I started, just taking private lessons and studying and practicing, and still kind of kept up with piano and did all the rudiments, state competitions, regional competitions, all that kind of stuff.
Nice. Did
Mhm.
Who were some of your first influences?
Well, I guess my cousin was my first influence, but I liked Led Zeppelin a lot when I was a young kid. So, I grew up listening to Led Zeppelin. I liked Ringo's solo album when it came out, after the
Mhm.
Beatles. So I was born in 64, so I think I'm a little bit older than you.
I'm
But
actually
anyway,
1 year older than you.
okay, so you're
Yeah,
63.
63.
Okay,
In
so
fact, my birthday is coming up. I'll be 63, born in 63 on April 2nd, in case anyone's taking notes out there.
oh, that's like your golden star
Yep.
anniversary or
It's
something.
almost the angel
That's
number or
awesome.
something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I started, it was Led Zeppelin, it was Ringo Starr, it was some of the Beatles, but it was also more of that what you call back then heavy metal. That's not heavy metal anymore, but it was
Right.
Kansas and Yes, and
Oh, yeah,
all those progressive art rock and roll groups, REO Speedwagon,
yeah.
all those groups. So I really started with the rock and roll. And then as I began studying more and getting involved with more private drum lessons, they introduced me to people like Lee Ritenour and Steve Gadd and Jeff Beccaro and those guys doing all the stuff with Dave Grusin and NYLA Dream Band and all that stuff that was really cool. Then we poured into Michael Franks, and then pretty much started going to record stores. Anything Steve Gadd or Jeff Beccaro was on, I was pretty much buying. whether it was Ricky Lee Jones or whatever, those guys were selling albums on their own.
Right.
And so I started morphing into more of the studio guys. And so I studied them a lot. And what I love about Steve Gadd so much is that he taught us when not to play. He taught us how to leave a hole. And, before then I was doing a lot of chops and stuff, and I was overplaying. I was playing written out drum solos that were totally transcribed, 11, 12 pages, and just chops. But I needed to learn time, and I needed to learn feel. I needed to learn groove. And so, Steve and Jeff Porcaro and Vinny and Carlos Vegas and John J.R. Robinson, people like that really taught me after listening to all the stuff they recorded. And I used to love listening to anything with JR on it, and still do today.
Yeah.
JR and I, we're good friends. So, man, he's played on so much stuff, all that Quincy Jones stuff and that early.
Yeah, I have the original release of Off the Wall, Michael Jackson's.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. That's
actually
right.
I should confess that came with my wife's collection, so I kind of inherited proxy.
What's yours is ours, right?
Yeah, exactly, until she leaves, and then I'm sure she'll say, hey, those albums. Hey, you mentioned JR. Let's kind of interrupt your musical journey flow just briefly, and let's show a quick clip of you and JR kind of tooling around briefly, and then we'll get back to your musical journey. So that would be right here. Check it out, folks.
Oh, yeah.
We always, instead of getting in the car to see the cousins, we'd, we had like 3 or 4 co-ops of planes. So I don't know if we can get on the runway. And in the old days, that wasn't there. It was just it was a shack. My dad helped bring, what do you call it, automation, so you can auto land.
Really?
And then he extended the runway here so small jets could land here.
Wow. He's a busy guy.
He did everything. There could be nobody here. Hello?
No one's here?
Nobody's here.
That's cool. Getting a personal tour by JR. And like you said, just played on so many hit records. And
absolutely.
The thing about him and Steve Gadd was, first of all, before I go into this, I want to tell people I'm not into the play for the song thing. I think what anybody plays for that song, when Carl Palmer played Carnival 9, he was playing for that song. When Neil Peart played La Villa Strangiato, he played for that song. But what we do get, and I think this is what people refer to, is with J.R. Robinson, with Steve Gadd, and Jeff Porcaro, when not to play, but it coming with a really deep groove and the rhythms that move us, like that innately. I'm not a dancer, but I cannot listen to those guys play and not tap my foot or bounce my hip or something. You know what I mean? There's just that extra secret sauce that comes with it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that would JR would tell you that if they're not dancing, we're doing something wrong. He's always wanting to get people dancing. And that was a great clip you played. I have not put it on my YouTube channel yet. I just have a couple shorts, but I spent 4 days with JR.
Nice.
And what we did was we went to his hometown of Creston, Iowa. And, him and I are both big Chiefs fans, and we've gone to several games together in Tennessee and LA and Kansas City. Nice. And so we meet up around football. So there was Chiefs were going to be on Monday Night Football. So he came in town. We spent 3 or 4 days together, and we drove up to Creston, Iowa, and we actually just video vlogged all of his favorite spots. So that was the airfield that his dad helped build. This is in Creston, Iowa. So it's kind of a small town, but his dad was instrumental in getting the runway to get bigger. And they had planes.
I heard him saying that.
Yeah, they had planes that they co-op together. So they were owned by doctors and people like that. And he was always flying. I guess his dad was a pilot, always flying out. And, as JR says, he did everything. And they'd go to different towns, all the time. And so that was cool. But we also got like all his homes and his high school. And we went and saw his Hall of Fame and all that kind of stuff. So That's going to be coming on my YouTube channel at Freedom Music Factory.
Great. Awesome. And we'll show a commercial for your YouTube channel in a few moments.
Oh, great.
Yeah. At what point, Jim, did you go from being a drummer to then incorporating writing music and writing songs, being a composer and a songwriter as well? What was that pivot? What sparked that?
So it's a great question. As I was, involved with drumming, drum corps, drum set, marimba, all that stuff, we kind of learned composition skills then, because I was writing my own snare drum solos to take the state contest. I also wrote my own drum set solo, wrote out every note,
Wow.
and did my own drum set solo. And then I did some marimba stuff. I programmed and I sequenced all the background music with Cakewalk and all that stuff. So I was dabbling in competition and like performance stuff, but it was, I was dabbling in actually composition. I said competition, but composition, I was dabbling on snare drum, marimba, drum set, all that stuff. So as we learned that stuff, I just started, actually what really happened was I lost my dad, and I had asked the Lord to give me 10 more years with him in March of 2004. And the answer was he didn't get 10 more years. He got a fast cancer and died in about 6 months. And
My
so
mother too, 6 months from the day she was diagnosed. Yeah.
And it broke my heart. And I just started writing. After that, I feel like the Lord, he downloaded words and melodies to me. And I found as songwriters, some people are really good with the music, but they can't ink out a lyric to save their soul. And some people are really good with lyrics and they can't do the music. But I just kind of was able to kind of put them both together. And because I was a drummer and I learned all the different styles, country, rock, pop, R&B, funk, jazz, all that stuff, when I got these words and melodies, I was kind of like, well, I can't put that hokey word into a pop song, but that could go into a Southern gospel song. And this one could be R&B, and this one could be funk, and this can be country. And so I just kind of knew from playing different genres, when I got these words and melodies, kind of what genre to put it in. Then I started collaborating with people that were experts in those different genres.
Perfect.
And songs together. And, I've got like 350 songs now.
That's really great, because it really stresses something I so believe in as a musician as well, is that the more genres you listen to, no matter what you love the most, the more genres you listen to and pick up and incorporate with your instrument, it's simply more tools in the toolbox so that one can do exactly what you just illustrated. And then the other thing, which goes for art, goes for business, is surround yourself with people who know even more about a particular thing that we might not be as good at or know as much about. It's really so universal. It really is. And you've made it work. Yeah,
that's right. I've always believed in surrounding myself with a lot of talent that's greater than me. I want to be the worst guy in the room because I'm going to play up to their level and that sort of thing. So I've been fortunate to collaborate with just some of the best in the music industry. And I've taken that formula that I used in business: treat your people right, surround yourself with a great team build. I took that formula and I took it in my songwriting and production. I've developed friendships, relationships with some unbelievable musicians, songwriters, and producers themselves. And we all go together and make some nice music together.
I love it. Treat people like rock stars and rock stars like people.
That's right.
And it just does that. Yeah. Very cool. Now you got a lot of things going on there at the studio. There's a clip here I want to show. Let's see if I can see it with these new glasses here. Yeah. Let's talk about, hey, my new glasses. Hey, 63. This is a kit that we're going to show an excerpt of you talking about. You have it there with you behind you in the studio, and it's going to be a special show. We'll talk about that after this clip. Watch this, folks. You may be familiar with this drum kit, fellow drummers and music fans. Check it out.
Hey, everybody. It's Jim with Freedom Music Factory, and I've got some exciting new news to share today. We are going to be releasing on my website, freedommusicfactory.com, 5 different sample packs of some of these iconic drum sets that I've been collecting over the years. I've been playing drums for over 50 years, and I've been buying drum sets, and I kind of happened by accident. I was able to acquire Dave Weckel's iconic red cherrywood recording custom kit that he used with Chicory Electric Band, and he also used it at the Buddy Rich Memorial Scholarship Concert. And so I acquired that kit, and then I started getting phone calls from other people, and I started acquiring these different kits, and I use the kits on my own original songs that I'm writing in the keys of my favorite drummers. So we are introducing some sample packs of all these drum kits. So we've sampled these with my engineer in my studio, Ben, and we've had several different samples for you to choose from. So we have a close mic, we got a room mic, and we have a soft hit, a medium hit, a low hit on every drum. And there's a wide array of drums. If you want to hear any of these drums in my mix and some of my songs, click right here. And so I'm using these drums and I'm producing these songs on it. I thought, well, maybe there's some other music producers and engineers that might want to have some of these sounds, and we're going to share them with the world. So they're available on my website, freedommusicfactory.com. So check it out. Pick up a sample pack today, and thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye.
All right, that's the teaser. That's what Jim has going on that you can get. We'll talk more about that. Here's one of the kits.
Hey everyone, it's Jim with Freedom Music Factory, and it's time for another very special drum kit of the month. I absolutely love this drum kit. You know, it all goes back to Modern Drummer. When I grew up reading Modern Drummer every month, I'd look at that magazine, read the articles, but I'd always first go to the back of it and get the drum kit of the month. So I'm just kind of sharing my kits with you guys. So if you guys like to see what's going on, what we're recording with, hopefully you'll find it interesting. So anyway, this is a Phoenix kit, and this was actually, the red kit was played by Dave Weckel at a NAMM show several years ago. So you'll see the smaller jazz sizes, the 10, the 12, a 14 floor tom on the left, and a 16 floor tom on the right. And then these, the Smoky Ash is the Phoenix from John Robinson's drum kit. So it's his last Phoenix drum kit. So to cover the sizes, I got the 13 here and I got the 18 floor. I'll show you all that stuff. But it's kind of interesting. I put the two together. They sound great. They're all Phoenix. As you know, probably the ash finish has been discontinued, so you can't get the colors to match what you got. So I got the drums and they all sound great, and that's the way that goes. So anyway, I'm going to start out with telling you what we got here. We got a 10-inch here, and I'll let you hear that. Then we got the 12, 8x12. 9x13. And then we got the 14x14 over here on the left.
You know, I gotta tell you, just talking about gear and geeking out on gear makes me want to go down to my studio and play. So I'm going to do that after dinner, maybe even just crank out one song. I love your setup, beautiful kit, and I love how the drums is my personal preference. Everyone has their own personal preference. I love how the drums ring out and they sing and they're melodic and you can hear the note. When guys or girls play a kit that's got a bunch of stuff on the drum heads, so much so that they're playing a 7-piece kit and they're going around the kit and all the drums sound the same. It's like, now let that instrument, can you imagine, Jim, being the manufacturer of the shells or the heads, putting in all that R&D and the finished product, it sounds beautiful. And then you see a video of someone playing it with a wallet taped on and gum, and it just, and then it just sounds like, yeah, I don't get it.
I get it. I get the James Gadsden stuff, but I took a lesson from James Gadsden at his house in Compton once. It was great.
Yeah.
I learned a lot. But I get the dead sound. It's got its place. But to your point, you know, we worked so hard to make these drums ring. And if you talk to like Simon Phillips or Jeff Porcaro, they're about getting these drums to ring as long as possible, sustain it. Even Simon Phillips says, like, I hit my drum, and if it shakes on the stands and moves a lot, I like it because that means more ring, more reverberation.
Right.
So
Love
some of
that.
these guys are just, they're so chopped, but they're busting so many chops. They need everything dead so they can hit all the drums and you can hear them all, because if they're
Yeah.
ringing on top of each other, it's going to be real muddy. But to each their own. I mean, they all have their spots, and I've taped up a drum head or two in my life too, but I do prefer them wide open mostly.
Yeah, that's awesome. My big obnoxious progressive kit doesn't have any bottom heads, and it hasn't since 1983, I think. What
Hmm.
happened was the kit was a Frankenstein kit that got bigger and
Hmm.
bigger, all different colors. I got them all painted, but they came back the wrong shade. And I had a recording session that weekend. So I told my friend Mike, who I don't know how, he's still really great friends with me, even after setting up my gear for 23 years since we were 15. I said, Mike, we got this session. Let's just put the top heads on. It's half the work because we got to take all this stuff apart and send it out again. And it sounded amazing in the studio. So when I got them back the right color, I never put the bottom heads on. I don't even know where those hoops are or if I even have them anymore. And I just love that open sound. And a lot of the music that I play and drummers I love to emulate had that sound. John Bonham, and Pace, Phil Collins, Carl
Hmm.
Palmer in the older days, Neil Peart.
Hmm.
I just love it. And we all have our own tastes for how drums sound, just like we have our
Hmm.
own favorite genres of music and whatnot. So talk about the
Absolutely.
sample packs. I'm curious, like that sounds like a lot of work. And I'm curious if there's a kit that, to no fault of the kit, was there a kit that was harder to sample, or maybe I should say more adventurous to sample than other kits because of the wood the shells were made out of,
Yeah.
the heads that were used, or something like that?
Well, I probably have to lean to. I mean, I love all the kits. There's a Yamaha Maple Custom in a one of a kind sunburst color. It's a sunburst fade. It's yellow and orange and red. Those are
Mhm.
all Maple Customs, and those were all, that was kind of a Frankenstein kit because although they were all Maple Customs, they were different colors. Some were the black that Weckel played for a brief minute, the black Maple Custom. Some
Yeah.
were green, that emerald green color.
Oh,
Some were
yeah.
the natural, yeah. Some were natural, the natural color. We
Mhm.
took him to a great painter here in Kansas City who works with CNC drums, Bill Cardwell, my good friend from Kansas City. Thank you, Bill. And they painted all those drums and they look fantastic. So that's the Maple Custom. As we know, Maple is probably the boingiest. They're pretty wide open. They ring a lot. And
Yeah.
so that's a cool drum kit. Another one that was cool, I I found out, I got a phone call and said Rick Murata wants to sell his babies. And so I called up Rick and I bought his original recording custom kit,
Oh,
and
wow.
it's a tobacco fade. It was actually playing in one of those videos, the highlight reel. But
Yeah.
that's a cool drum kit because it has Rick's original drum heads on it. He wasn't much for changing drum heads, so he's got some old drum heads on there. But you think, oh, these things are dead, but man, they sounded really good.
You
So
know,
that's
I
go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead, and then I wanna touch on that topic.
Yeah. So Rick's are his original heads. I
Yeah.
didn't I didn't change them off. Then I got my favorite drum kit, my Yamaha Absolute Hybrid Maple. Oh my goodness, that is such a great drum kit. So it's got the maple, and then it also has 2 ply of Wingay in it. And so you got
Oh,
the boinginess of the maple, but then kind of like a Wingay or Babinga. It's a great mix, and it just sustains so nice and pure, and it's
yeah.
just so focused. The sound's focused. So we got that drum kit, and then the Steve Gadd 30th anniversary drum kit is a very special drum kit for me, and I had
Mm.
Steve sign that recently. He signed every shell, and I just love Steve so much. We're actually good friends, and
Yeah.
I've been following him for many, many years.
Yeah, absolutely. On the
Mhm.
topic of drum heads, and folks, chime in if whether you're watching on the live or the archive on YouTube or Facebook. And quick shout out to Josh Anyon, who's chiming in all the way. Good morning from the Philippines. Nice,
All
thanks.
right.
Yeah, very
Hey,
cool.
Josh.
I saw a post today that said, "How often do you change your drum heads?" And I did not answer because I think it would have caused a bleep storm, because I know most drummers, for
Yeah.
whatever reason, they're fanatical about changing after every show or every
Mhm.
so much time. The heads I have on my two acoustic kits that are set up right now, one's a 4-piece jazz kit, has Evans Moderno naturals on it, and then the other has clear aquarium. I'm sorry, they're Aquarian Modernos, and then I have the clear Aquarians on the big giant kit, except for the snare. All those heads on both kits have been on there for 3 years, and they sound fine. I find no reason to replace them. I go by ear, not time or how they look. They look fine. They sound great. Before that, I had heads on, I had Remo color tone heads on
Uh-huh.
the big kit for 5 years. And get this, before that, I had Remo pinstripes for literally probably 17 years, and they still sounded fine. I would clean, there were clear pinstripes. I'd clean with baby wipes. It would take off a lot of the scuffs. They were open bottoms. They rang out. I
Mm.
just found no reason to replace them if they still sound good.
Yeah.
So,
I agree with you, and Steve Gadd does too. I mean, he'll sit there on a drum kit and he'll hit something and say, change the 12, keep the 10, keep the 14, keep the 16. He'll change them one head at a time,
yeah,
because he
up to
he
your
likes to
ear.
hang on. He does. He uses his head and his ears, and he knows exactly what sound he's going for. But he's very seldomly like just changes all of them.
Yeah,
And
that's
even
great.
funny enough, this Weckel kit, I'll get out of here in a minute so might be able to see it.
Yeah,
The red one at the
yeah.
Buddy Rich Memorial Scholarship, there that came with like 15 drums because Dave had so many different sizes for different reasons. Like when he started out with that drum kit, it was 8x10 square, 8x8, 10x10 square, 12x12 left, 13x13 floor tom, and 15x15 floor tom. And so they were all square sizes. But then as Master Plan came out, it was 3 toms up and 3 down. And that was, he's moved to 8x10. No, I'm sorry, 8x8, 8x10, 8x12. So they were all 8
Oh,
depth along the top. And then he switched to some different size floor toms. He went up a little bit to like 13, 14, 15 suspended hanging. But anyway, there's so many drum heads. I mean, there's so many drums, but many of them had the original Yamaha logo on the bottom that were never changed,
yeah.
And so, I
That's
mean,
interesting.
they're still on there today. I mean, if they sound good, they sound good.
Right.
If the
Yeah,
drums
exactly.
ring, if they ring evenly and, nothing's out of sorts,
Yeah,
play them.
absolutely. For sure. Going back to technique, you mentioned being in drum corps. Did you learn a lot in drum corps that you then adapted to learn how to apply that stuff to distribute around the drum set, whether it was with soloing or fills or just grooving? Did those cross over for you, or do you view
Not,
them more as like
not,
separate techniques?
not so much because, yeah, it's just a little bit more. Drum corps is, it's the composition of the sum of the parts. The bass drums are doing their roles, and the quintoms, they're doing their thing. Snares are doing their thing. Cymbals are doing their thing, and it's all together. It's a great, beautiful piece of music. But
Yeah.
I learned, man, just listen to some of that Steve Gadd stuff he did with Tom Scott Apple Juice and some of those. Steve was such a good rudimental drummer and still is. And he really brought the drum corps. So I'm more like Steve's version of drum corps, which is more is older than what you see newer today with all their new rudiments and stuff like that.
Yeah. I'm definitely old school.
Mm.
I've only discovered new music through doing Drum Talk TV. If it wasn't for Drum Talk TV, I'd have no idea what's been going on the last 20 years, basically.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I still love to play the same music the same bands and artists I've been playing to since I was 7 years old. And it's a small box, but it's very deep. I can get so deep into the catalog, the complete Led Zeppelin catalog, most of Pink Floyd. I love playing Jethro Tull, almost all of Genesis. Yes, pretty much everything, but maybe the first 2 albums with the live versions. That's Deep Purple. And now I'm starting to go thin. So now what is that? Okay, some solo stuff: Robert Plant, Peter Gabriel, Phil Collins, and then Gentle Giant. And then we're getting close to the borderline because it's like Rush. And now I'm starting to run out of them. It's like it's a small group of bands I've always played to. ELP, I might have mentioned, Asia, but real deep into their catalog, which I really enjoy doing. But I've kind of started to learn some newer stuff simply because, as we talked about earlier, the more tools in the toolbox, the more you can do. So I started listening to music that I never listened to in my early 20s. And now I'm in love with these bands. B-52s. Oh my God, I love that stuff. Duran, a bit of Duran, but Tears for Fears, the album Sowing the Seeds of Love, is such a masterpiece. So sometimes you get away from something for so long, you mature a little bit, you have a different view of stuff, and now all of a sudden, wow, why wasn't I into this? This sounds amazing.
That's right.
Do you have guilty pleasure bands like that, Jim? Where
I mean, I like all music if it's done well. Okay.
Yeah.
So any music that's done well, I'll listen to. I'll listen to country. I'll listen to Drake. I'll listen to Eminem. But I don't do much rap. I do have a few rap songs, but I'm more R&B and jazz and funk and pop and mainstream music, rock and roll, stuff like that. So that's what I'm into. But I love so much. My palette of musicians that I listen to is very broad, because if it's done well, I can respect that quite a bit and listen to it and learn from it. And, I love Rush and all those guys, what they did with 3 guys in a band. Yeah. And I don't think that'll ever be done again, man. It's just amazing catalog they had. So, and, you can keep going and go to Dream Theater and, some of these other groups that have followed those guys, and you can just keep listening to what they're doing. Everybody just evolves in it. It seems like the bar keeps getting set higher and higher. Next thing you know, you got a little 12-year-old drummer that can play better than you can.
Oh my gosh. I'm always saying, what are these kids eating for breakfast? It's on. And I don't buy the reasoning when people say, oh, well, no, they have YouTube. You don't play like that by watching a few YouTube videos. There's something that's just innate in them where they develop this technique, because it's the understanding of the phrasing, the rhythms, whether it's guitar or piano or drums. It's every aspect. How did they at such a young age pick all that up? It's amazing. It really is.
I think, it is. I think most of them are daughters and sons of musicians. And so their dads and moms started giving them lessons at 2 and 3. You see 2-year-olds on the drum set starting now. And, they just got a head start. I mean, I started in 3rd grade. And, what would have done if I would have, started in kindergarten or stuff. I used to teach private drum lessons for years. I taught for like 6 years. And I would never start anyone before 3rd grade, because I just didn't feel like the attention span was there and they weren't going to put into work. And so that was the best time I had. I tried some early ones and it didn't work out. But man, now look at this. Look what's going on today. It's absolutely nuts.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Tell us more about your studio and what goes on there and what people can expect to find on your YouTube channel.
Yeah, well, so my studio is really about me getting my music out to the world. So I've got like 350 songs. And so every year I made a goal that I'm going to write and produce 10 songs every year for the rest of my life. So that's from beginning to end. Well, that goal has been met every year for like the last 7 or 8 years. And like during COVID, I wrote 70 songs and produced 70 songs over those 2 years. And I had a lot to say about what was going on and stuff like that. But, we were all locked down and, I just started writing. But so I really want to get my music out there in terms of how do I get it out there to bless other people so they can see what's going on and so I can share my music. And, I really can't tour a lot, although I am planning on having a concert. I'm thinking August or September this year in Kansas City. And we might go to Nashville too. So we're talking about that. And actually that's in the works. And so, but I'm trying to get my music out. I can't really tour because I have businesses that I run and I'm involved with those on a daily. And so How do you get your music out there? Well, I released an album on Apple. It was called Worship for the Nations, and it had 12 songs, and we had a lot of great people playing on it. And then Apple all of a sudden says, well, instead of buying it for $12 for an album or 99 cents each, they started selling subscriptions, and now all of a sudden you can't even find my projects, that are on there. And so you got to decide, well, we're in a singles market now. Are you going to try and market every single song but the problem is people think music's free. Ever since Napster and everything else, the file sharing and downloading, everybody thinks that. So most people making money on music, besides Taylor Swift and the people that have a lot to say, with the big marketing machine by them, most people are making their money off merchandise sales and concerts and selling seats. Yeah, you heard Steve Lukather say, I don't think Toto will ever cut another album again, but they're still out touring this year, Right. And so, so my channel, I've probably got, I don't know, do I have 50 songs that I'm actually performing, playing on? And my goal is to eventually leave them on my website, so I'm doing a live version, and then I got a studio version. So I'm actually now like recreating some songs that I wrote maybe 5, even 10 years ago. And there's a great one on there called Breakthrough. And you were talking about single-headed toms. I bought a Jenkins Martin fiberglass drum set with just single-headed. And it's almost like an octopus, but I'm playing that drum set on my song Breakthrough. And it's kind of a cool drum set. So, check that out at Freedom Music Factory on YouTube if you can. But, and answer your question, we're about tech. We're about, what it's like working in the studio, how to record a song, what all goes into tracking. I'm actually getting the people that played on my songs recorded, and they're actually performing in my songs too, live on my songs. So I didn't want it just to be me doing drum covers of my own songs.
Right.
So I've got the people that have worked on my songs, and they're actually in my videos, and we're doing that. So I do 10 new songs a year, and I do 20 videos a year. So that's 30 songs. But I've already written and produced 6 songs this year already, and it's March. So I'm killing that goal.
That's awesome. And I know what you do as a business owner, and 2 things to that. One, I love how hands-on you are, because not everybody that does what you do are hands-on owners. That's number one. Number 2, how do you find the time to do all this? It's amazing.
Yeah,
and I know that the passion for it's one thing, and the motivation and inspiration, but we still have this 24-hour thing that we have to manage. How do you make time for all of it? It's so impressive.
I get that question a lot. Jim, where do you get your energy from? How do you have time to do everything? I never really slept a lot. I recently met up with a friend of mine, Chip Sage. We were high school buddies, college buddies. And he goes, his eyes always look red. Yet he's never been high at all, but he just doesn't sleep. And we met up, and it's like, I haven't seen this guy in 25 years. He's no different. I mean, I function on 4 to 6 hours of sleep a night.
Me too. Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, that's just my grind. And many times I'm up early in the mornings writing songs. I'm just instead of insomnia, I'm getting inspired and writing songs. And then I got my notepad and on my phone, and then I start singing melodies in my voice memo. Then I go down to the piano and play some stuff. And here's a hook. Here's an idea. Get with somebody else that has a guitar and start building, finishing out from there. And
that's
it's just
great.
It's just I have a lot of energy. I guess I've been blessed with a lot of energy and a lot of creativity stuff.
That's great. Your process. Hey, Lindsay McDonald says hello.
Hi, Lindsay. How you doing?
Yeah. How's your process as far as let's say tonight, over the weekend, you write 4 songs. Do you start one from the beginning to the end before you go to the next, or you do all the drum tracking first? Do you do it in equal parts, if you will, concurrently, or what's your process like, or does it vary?
So what it usually is me singing. I'm writing most 95% of all the lyrics. I got some lyrics together, then I'm thinking, okay, what what genre does this feel like? What are these words saying to me? Then
Mm.
I start thinking about a feel. Like, I've written some songs. Written a lot of songs in the feels of my favorite drummers and favorite artists. I've got songs that, are inspired by Quincy Jones or Lionel Richie or the Gap Band or Prince or Michael Jackson. And, who was playing on all that stuff is a lot of our friends. But,
Yeah.
I'll say, like, I'll even like take a song like Love Never Felt So Good with Justin Timberlake and Michael Jackson. They did that
Mhm.
song, and that's such a cool little feel. And I think JR played on that, and it's so cool. So I wrote a song kind of in that style. It's their own, my own words, my own melodies. I'm not ripping anybody off. It's just that was I wanted to do that,
Yeah.
and I've got another song that was inspired by Ron Canoli, who was a great praise and worship pastor who just recently passed away. And
Mm.
he did some projects in the 90s and early 2000s. And they were hiring Alex Acuna. They had
Oh.
Carl Albright on percussion. They had Paul Jackson Jr. on guitar. They had Abraham Laboriel on bass.
Oh,
They
wow.
had, who else did they have? Vinny Colaiuta did an album with them. So these people were all working through this Hosanna praise integrity music. And so there was a song that I wanted to write that was similar to the song called Morning into Dancing off the Ron Canoli album. I did my own. It's called The Highest Praise, and that is on my YouTube channel. And you'll see me play the marimba on that as well as the drums. We
Cool.
also have Alex Acuna on percussion and Luis Conte on that. So I got to
Oh,
really check a couple boxes on that. I got to
yeah.
put Luis and Alex on my same song. So check
That's
the
cool.
Highest Praise out. And so, it's just, I get inspired by music. I get inspired by words. I recently have written a patriotic song that was
Oh,
in my iPhone for 8 years. And
oh, wow.
I didn't have the music for it, but then I finally found the music and I put it together. And I'm going to get this thing out before the 4th of July this year. It's
Oh,
going to be
nice.
a great song. So
That's
it
great.
says, "This flag still means everything to me." And it will go country because, that's the
Yeah.
country guys like to talk about the flag. So
Yeah.
that's going to be a great song. I'm really looking forward to working with a lot of people in Nashville on that, getting that thing put together in rapid time.
Nice. I like that you're going down the Americana vein with your
Mhm,
talents as well. That's really
mhm.
cool. Maybe July 4th is the perfect release day for that or something.
Right. Well, this is our 250-year celebration too, and I actually was able to fit the words 250 years into the song. So
Oh,
that's I
nice.
said I think I said the flag's still flown shining bright for 250 years. So, I
Yeah.
made a reference to that. But in answer to your question, how do I construct a song? So usually it's starting with some words, then I think about putting a melody to it. And then once I get some words and melodies, then I think about putting a feel to it. What feel do I want to have in this song?
Mhm.
What does I want? And usually it's some of my heroes from the 70s, 80s, and 90s, because I'm
Mm.
not doing any of this AI stuff. I'm
Right.
doing all real singers, real musicians, real choirs, real brass sections, real string sections, all that stuff. Everything's played. It's the expensive way, but it's also the fun way. And I'm
Yeah.
involved with all those processes producing the song. But
That's
usually I'll get with somebody with a scratch guitar, or we'll get a keyboard in after I've got the words and melodies, and we'll put a little skeleton together. And it could be just me, playing some time on my hands and stuff. And
yeah.
then we go into Pro Tools and we put it into Pro Tools, make sure the scratch is kind of good, that I can play with it. So I'll
Yeah.
manipulate the scratch so it's, good, that it's played good. And then I'll put the drums on it first. Then I will sing the scratch vocals. I sing on every one of my songs. Then I've replaced myself with somebody that can sing better than I do.
Oh,
But I
wow.
always sing, yeah, I always sing the songs. Those are my words and melodies. And then I just start, after that, it goes really to, I got to get a keyboard player on it or a great guitar player on it so they can hear the song. Then after you get that, probably I send it to the bass player first, because the bass player helps determine the chords for the keyboards and the guitar. So my bass players usually go first. And then with the scratch. They hear the song at its worst condition. And so then I just start building to get the lead vocal. I'll always know who the lead vocal is going to be because I want to make sure the instruments are in the right key for that vocal. So the other thing when I write a song, I think to myself, male or female? Right. Okay, I think this is going to be a female. So then I think about my list of female people that I work with, and I think, well, I think this one sounds like this person. And so then I will produce that song just for that person. So it's funny, I start writing songs for people that I work with, and it's a big list, but it's a fun list. And it's variety, man. I love the variety of it all.
That's great. And do you record like a complete song before you start recording the next song, or do you all scratch for 3 or 4 songs and kind of build at the same time, or what does that recording process look like?
Well, like for this country one, I've got my drums on it already, but I'm calling them scratch, but they sound great. But I've got guitars on it already. I'm calling them scratch. I got me singing on it right now, and then I've got to go find out what country guy I'm going to have sing on this, and then from there I might have to change the key. I have to change the key. And so then we start all over. So once we commit to an artist or a singer, after that part goes, I'm pretty much starting over, and I'm just getting it all ready for him so he can hear it. He's got to be able to hear, she's got to be able to hear the song and, you know, be inspired by it. So it's not always scratch. I mean, there's many times where I sit down and I start with final drums, you know, and actually I've written 2 or 3 songs. You would not believe it. I've written 2 or 3 songs just from the drum chair. And I just start.
Yeah, that's how I used to write. It would come to me rhythmically and I'd sing the melody in my head and just,
4-bar intro, 16-bar first verse. You know, if you do a pre-chorus, 4 bars, 8 bars, chorus, 8 bars, go back to the re-intro. You know, there's a formula for it. Go back to the second verse. I've written several songs without a word or melody and tracked it from the drum kit. It's crazy, but I've been able to do it. They've turned out really well.
That's nice. A couple other comments from Lindsay chiming in. He says he's doing good. Jim's music videos too. It's cool to be inspired by the masters. It's great to hear your process, Jim. Thanks, with some applause going. Yeah, thanks for sharing all that. I'm always interested in that. I'm a production nut. I did a lot of producing in my 20s and 30s, especially. And I always like hearing different people's processes and whatnot. You can learn from that. And some people, because, people come and go during the lives. So I want to play one of your videos again. This is really cool. Let's go with this again, and then we're going to talk about where this kit's going to be. Okay, folks.
Hey everyone, it's Jim with Freedom Music Factory, and it's time for another very special drum kit of the month. I absolutely love this drum kit. It all goes back to Modern Drummer. When I grew up reading Modern Drummer every month, I'd look at that magazine, read the articles, but I'd always first go to the back of it and get the drum kit of the month. So I'm just kind of sharing my kits with you guys. So if you guys like to see what's going on, what we're recording with, hopefully you'll find it interesting. So anyway, this is the Phoenix kit, and this was actually, the red kit was played by Dave Weckl at a NAMM show several years ago. So you'll see the smaller jazz sizes, the 10, the 12, a 14 floor tom on the left, and a 16 floor tom on the right. And then these, the Smoky Ash is the Phoenix from John Robinson's drum kit. So it's his last Phoenix drum kit. So to cover the sizes, I got the 13 here and I got the 18 floor. I'll show you all that stuff. But it's kind of interesting. I put the 2 together. They sound great. They're all Phoenix. As you know, probably the ash finish has been discontinued, so you can't get the colors to match what you got. So I got the drums, and they all sound great, and that's the way that goes. So anyway, I'm going to start out with telling you what we got here. We got a 10-inch here, and I'll let you hear that. Then we got the 12, 8 by 12. 9 by 13, And then we got the 14 by 14 over here on the left.
Love it. And I love seeing that cymbal collection back there. How much time do you spend when you sit down to track drums for a song? Do you have a solid sound in your head, or do you run through it a few times and go, let me try it with this ride instead, or these hi-hats? What does that look like from a drummer's perspective when you're recording?
Sure. So we're setting up a new drum kit about once every 2 months, maybe once every 6 weeks. So when that comes out, I'm thinking about, okay, what songs am I going to perform live on this kit? Because I want to make sure, if it's a Gretsch sound and I got a Yamaha up, I want to make sure I have the right kind of sounds that I got. So I'll have those drums set up and I'll think, okay, this is a Yamaha Phoenix. This is going to be R&B. This could be rock and roll. This could be worship music. It could be a lot of things. Probably not country as much because I like my Gretsch USA Maple Custom for my country stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, so I'll think about that. And the things that I change out most all the time is the snare drum, the ride cymbal, and the hi-hats, just like you said. Yeah. And so I think it's important when I pick my cymbals out, I pick out a family. So I don't really mix and match a lot of brands, and I like a pentatonic scale. I like everything to really sound like a nice little family of cymbals. And so once that's there, then it just becomes, well, what's the ride going to be like? What's the hat's going to be like? What's the snare drum going to be like? And, we'll listen to snare drums. And if we don't like it, I'll take it off pretty quickly. And I got a great engineer here that works with me. And his name's Ben Turkovic. And, we pretty much know if the snare is going to be a good fit for the song or not. But we'll get creative. It's like when the country song came out, I said, well, what snare drum haven't I played in a while? And I have a 8 by 14 Gretsch USA Maple, and I put that on there. I haven't played it in quite a while. So I do have all these drums, but I'm really working hard to actually use them and not just collect them. I want them to be used on the music. And, when Rick sold me his drums, that was important to him. It's important to these people that these drums are used, appreciated, and, they have a new life of their own.
That's cool. And not just being flipped or collected.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Dave Weckl was the same way. Dave was really happy that I got him here in Kansas City, and, I'm keeping him, and we talk every once in a while. And I just emailed him a couple of weeks ago and talked about some stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's just, they're happy knowing that their babies are taken care of. And I got all of John Robinson's last Yamaha kits, and he was over here and saw him and said, man, Barbra Streisand tour, Steve Winwood, all this stuff, he played with it. And it's just like all the memories came flooding back. And that's all going to be on my YouTube.
Cool. That's great. Tell everyone where they'll have a chance to see the Dave Weckl Red Kit.
Yes. So I'm going to the Las Vegas Drum Show, and that's the last Sunday in March. So we're going to drive these things out, and we are not going to stop. I got a team that's going to drive because I don't want the drums to be anywhere overnight, between Kansas City and Vegas. So we got a team of drivers, and we're going to have Dave Weckl red iconic Yamaha recording custom drum kit, the one he played at the Buddy Rich Memorial Scholarship, which I was at, by the way. I was in the audience for that.
Nice.
That was a great night. And then he also used it with Chicory Electric Band and used it with a lot of stuff. The Master Plan album was all done with these drums. Wow. And then the other drum set I'm going to have is Steve Gadd's 30th anniversary Yamaha kit. And so that's going to be there. So those are two iconic drum kits that are going to be in Las Vegas. I think it's on the 29th. I'll have to check the date.
Yeah, it is. Yes,
is it 29th
of March? Yeah.
So I'll be out there showing, and I'll just, kind of be promoting my channel, talking about what we're doing. And so try to, like and subscribe so I can get some more subscribers, because that'll help us, as we continue to make videos and pay musicians and people to sing on my stuff. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, check this out. Like you. Yeah, this is what Jim's talking about.
The Las Vegas Drum Show is happening on Sunday, March 29th, 2026 at the Tuscany Suites and Casino in fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. We will have leading percussion industry exhibitors, a drum clinic, master classes, raffle prizes, meet and greets, and miscellaneous drum show shenanigans.
After all, it's Vegas. What can possibly go wrong?
So we lived there for quite a few years, and I can tell
Yeah.
you exactly what can go wrong. But it's going to be a fun time. Now, this brings us to the most important question of the Jim Wagy Drum Talk TV interview, and this is known as the Jim Wagy Fun Fact segment. So, Jim, you work hard with your other business. You are so involved in music. In the slivers of time that you have available or make available or pretend are available, when you're not doing anything related to music, you're not doing anything related to your other business, what do you or you and your wife like to do completely outside and away from those things?
Good question. We like to travel when we can. We go to Cancun every year, and it's just great down there. We have a place we go to, and I loved it so much that I decided that I was going to buy another timeshare for my employees to go to. So this
Nice.
last year, I sent 5 of my managers and supervisors to Cancun as well with their spouses for rewarding for outstanding performance. And that's what we're talking about. Treat your people like rock stars, right? Because they're going to take care of you. They're going to take care of my customers. So we love to go to Cancun. We love to travel. We like Vegas too, just because it's great fun and shopping and, all the shows and nice hotels. So we like to do that. And, pretty much I did used to play a lot of golf, but I decided I can't be great at everything. So, I kind of stopped doing some things so that I could do more time on music. So that being said, I am going to play golf with Carlo Gadd on Monday, the 30th in Vegas. But I did like to play golf, but it's such a hard, selfish game. It requires so much of your time to really be good at golf. So I'll go out and play scramble tournaments and stuff like that. But other than that, it's pretty much hamburgers and music for me, man. That's what it is.
That's great. Traveling is just awesome. Everybody's got to get out of their bubble and experience more of the world. It's so important. It's a better way of understanding each other. I miss my dad. I used to play a lot of golf with my dad. And like you said, you gotta play consistently to really improve or even maintain a certain level. But I used to play like right around 63, 65. If it got warmer than that, I wouldn't play.
I understand.
Yep.
Yeah.
Jim, thanks so much for taking time. We'll do this again. When you're getting ready to release that new song, let's have you on again and talk about that. And maybe you can capture some footage of it being recorded that we can show as well.
We will.
It'd be a lot of fun.
Thank you so much for having me, Dan. I love your channel, and I love how you promote drumming and all the people here that are part of your community. It's great to be involved with them.
Thank you.
Don't forget to like and subscribe my videos at Freedom Music Factory on YouTube. And in my webpage, freedommusicfactory.com.
Yep, absolutely. Well, we have it in the notes, or it'll be in the notes. So folks, check that out. Follow Jim and his wonderful channel, all the wonderful projects he does, and the sample packs and the kit of the month. There's just so much going on there. It's a drummer's heaven. It really is. It's really great. So thanks for what you do for all of us that love to just geek out on gear and everything like that. It's kind of like the preservation of our culture, our drumming culture.
That's right.
So
you gotta love the drumming community. They've always been so tight and help each other, and I love that about the drumming community.
My dad, before we go, I want to mention, shout out to my dad. He was not a drummer, but he was around my shows and my bands so much that he made an observation that is so real. He said, drummers, A, they all seem to have a sense of humor. Drummers, B, they seem to be the most supportive musicians because they see them congregating and talking and showing each other their gear, where I don't really see the other musicians doing that. And he said, and they kind of seem like campers for the most part. I said, what do you mean? We need a shower? He said, well, that, but also that, when you go camping, you can leave your stuff out and no one's going to F around with it. There's just that same communal respect. And I think that what he said really nails the drummer community, I think,
Absolutely. 100%.
Great. So folks, thanks for joining Jim and I, whether you're watching live on YouTube and Facebook or whether you are catching it on the archive. And we'll be back with a lot more Drum Talk TV fun. I can't believe it's March, but we still got a lot of rest of the year coming up, and we have a lot of really great new stuff busting out at the Drum Talk TV Brilliance.com membership site. So check that out, and we'll see you soon. Jim, hang on the line with me for a minute after we go.
You got it. Thank you.
Thanks, folks. Yeah. Be sure to follow Jim's channels. Check it out. There's so much great stuff there. Even if you're not a drummer, check it out. Thanks, folks. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.